you start with the obvious. We're all wrestling people. You think of Jim Ross. Jim Ross is the voice of the WWE for many years. Got his start in UWF Mid South, went to WCW, Jim Crockett Promotions, makes it to WWF in 1993. He becomes the voice and the soundtrack to so much we have through the Attitude Era, through into the Ruthless Aggression. I'm not going to do the crazy voice, but he has this way of telling stories that hooks you in. He tries to make these larger than life characters someone you can relate to a little bit more, and it's always something that I think is a gift that JR's always had to draw you in a little bit. Um, Kind of shifting around a little bit here, I'm going to include a name that I enjoyed listening to all the way up to retirement. I don't know about you guys. I love John Madden. John Madden calling football. He gets his break in CBS in 1979, but in 1981, he finds his pairing. He's paired with Pat Summerall, and they become the voice and the track to so many NFL games in the 80s and early 90s as this great duo at CBS. And then eventually they move to Fox and they become the number one duo there. They cover so many Super Bowls, so many championship games. He eventually, John Madden eventually goes to, Monday Night Football, goes to Sunday Night Football. He kind of covers everything. He's just that voice that's consistently there. For me, it's also the Madden video games. He's the commentator on those Madden video games. You hear him talking all the time, hearing him, call plays, dissect things. Everybody has a Madden impression if you listen to John Madden do anything really. So I have to include John Madden. I'll stick sports a little bit more here. I'll go Vern Lundquist. I always thought Vern, as a guy who likes watching golf, I always loved his calling of golf. He's also been with the SEC games on CBS. He's been with CBS since 1998. So he was always that voice of CBS, calls the NCAA tournaments. He would call many different events. Finally retired in February of 2024. He'd kind of gotten out of the broadcast booth from football in 2016, but still called all the golf tournaments. So, I think of Vern when I think of Tiger Woods moments, or I think of the SEC games where there's those big games on Saturday. Vern was always that voice. He was the soundtrack to help you get into the game, get the coaches' dialogues. He was always great at telling you what was happening out there. And, and of course, Vern, and you can't forget Vern in Happy Gilmore. 1 and 2 now as well. He was also in the second movie. He has that voice that just kind of, I don't know what it is. It's that comforting voice where he gets that excitement. When he gets excited, it gets you excited. And that's what part of what makes a great commentator a great commentator.